Hello, cosmic beings out there. I'm Mannah, a therapeutic astrologer and interviewer. I'm passionate about learning and sharing insights on how to live a better life. I hope you'll stick around as I infiltrate the minds of thought leaders, authors, and healers from around the globe. Wherever you find yourself right now, dear listener, I want you to remember that you have a place to call whole. Now please enjoy this episode. Today I'm joined by Dennis Cobélean. Welcome, Dennis.
Yeah.
And I usually don't do this where I read a bio, but I want to do it today because I really like this bio.
Okay.
It's from your publisher, the Pegasus publisher. So your book, you're the author of the book Where? The Metaphysics of Matter. And in the bio, it says, the author has studied psychology, history, archaeology, and engineering for over 2 decades. This has led him to the doorsteps of religion, philosophy, spirituality, and metaphysics in pursuing the truth about the human condition. The idea for this book came in 2008 after he spent 40 days and nights in the Tunisian part of the Sahara Desert, contemplating and reading. His childhood dream was to know all secrets in the universe, and he intends to die curious.
Wow, it sounds a little bit too much, but I studied religion, philosophy, a little bit at the university, psychology, yes, at university as well. Engineering, yeah, a little bit lower than university, but I did a lot of it. And then I have a pattern for a desalination process that is actually really, really good. And I tried, I have a company and I tried to get funding and it didn't really work, but I'm bad at sales, really bad at it. Yeah, so yeah, sorry. Well, it's accurate. I'm never gonna stop being curious. There's always something new to find out.
And I really want to ask you here in the beginning. I know it can seem a lot when there's a text about you like that, and you're like, I'm just a human being trying to get out. And yeah, I get that. I get that. But let's see if we can weave together like the human being and the secrets of the universe, right? Like, so I want to ask you kind of what you found out about the universe. You're talking about words are, technical words,
Yeah.
and then also more on a level of life mastery. And I want to just ask you this very broad question of what is your view on the universe? Like, what do you feel like sharing about it? Because I know that that's a lot.
Yeah. So, okay. The way I look at it is that the universe is this living entity, this mind, or maybe it's a part of our mind, but it's a mind, and it always struggles, or not struggles, but it always wants to be in equilibrium. Now that becomes, in probably a lot of, when people think about it, a horrible way to look at it, because then it goes like, oh, okay, so a civilization grows up here and one dies here. So it's just, then life doesn't seem to matter because it just wants equilibrium. But that's not true. that life really, really matters. That's the way this consciousness manifests itself. And everything is life. Everything is part of this consciousness, and it is life. So everything matters. Nothing is nothing is unimportant. Everything is very important. Everything we do is important, how we think, and everything. So
Yeah, you also say that everything belongs to the universe, for example.
yeah, everything belongs to this consciousness. So if everything belongs to this consciousness, how can something be wrong? Or people say, well, that's bad. Okay, from what perspective are you looking at it? From which view do you say that that's bad and that's good? Because everything do belong to the universe. I don't think there's anything in this universe who doesn't belong here.
Mm.
So it's like when we get a bacteria, the body fights it. It's like, no, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be in me. So I don't say that the universe fights it, but what I mean is that everything belongs to the universe. So everything is included. So let's say astrology, tarot, I Ching, all of this, people go like, it's just bullshit or BS. It's like, but no, it belongs to the universe. So it's a manifestation of the universe language.
I have a question around
Yeah.
that, but I'm not sure I can find it right now. But from memory, you say something about information being stored, for example, in the I Ching. Do I remember that correctly?
Maybe. Well, everything is, well, nothing is forgotten.
Right.
Everything is just like do a computer analogy. Everything is on the hard drive, so nothing is forgotten because, as I said, if everything belongs to the universe, then also everything is important. And then how can action or words be, because they always influence everything else. Maybe not a great deal. I mean, when the Roman Empire fell, where did it start to fall? Is it, oh wow, sorry. Is it when like the cook, he burnt a steak and for the Roman general or some politician, he got mad and blah blah blah, and that was the beginning of the fall of the Roman Empire. It might look like a trivial action or event, but it was pivotal. We don't really know, and that ties into the Zen master Hakuin. It's like where I think it's he who says that is that so? Yeah. So the story. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd love for you to share the story about Hakuin.
Yeah. There's many quotes from him, but I think one of them is or similar. There's many different Zen masters. So, but is that so? So he. Well, I think Hakuin is that a girl and her parents comes to Zen Master Hakuin and says, "You impregnated my daughter. You're the father of the child." And he just goes, "Is that so?" And they're like, "Oh, baba." And now she has birthed this child, and you have to take care of it. And he says, "Okay, is that so?" And then he takes care of it, and they come back and they say, "Well, we're sorry, but it turns out she lied to us, you're not the father, so we're going to take the child back. And he just goes, is that so? So everything is like, you can't see it as bad or good. It's just is what it is, because you don't know where it goes further on. You don't see the beginning or the end of your action. It hasn't played out yet, and it might take hundreds of years, thousands of years, millions of years until it plays out to its full course. And I don't, and especially when we have with other people. So somebody says something hurtful or nice to you, and then you get happy or you get angry, and then you meet someone and you kind of share whatever feeling you had with that person. You either get pissed off at them, or you give them a smile and, hi, how you doing? And then they feel something, and that transmutes all. I mean, it's 6 degrees of separation, so we don't know where it goes. So my feeling is that if we don't know where things go or where they start, everything is important until they're not, so to speak. But treat everything as important, as it's like, this is life and death. Then your life becomes strange, but it becomes wonderful as well.
So you're saying both treat it as life or death, but then you also say, is that so? And that seems to be more of a neutral, passive relationship to whatever happens.
Yeah, but it's that notion of you should be aware in every minute of who you are, what you're feeling, and what you're doing, and what's your surrounding. Just awareness. And if you are aware, then you will treat everything as important. And I don't mean like ancients important, like we having a Zoom meeting, it's like, oh, I have to look my best and blah 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 and all that. But just as like, this can be a pivotal moment or not.
Yeah.
But just be there and be with the other person, and then magical things happen.
Right, I get that. So it's important and it matters, and yet we cannot say anything about the outcome. I think that story
Yeah.
you just shared, I've heard it with a different metaphor around it, and it had to do with more like animals and this whole development. Is it good or bad? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
when you shared it with children, I was like, oh, that would be a hard one, I'll just take my child,
yeah.
But I get the meaning. And I just came to see my note around the I Ching that you mentioned. Maybe that's a good transition to talking about matter.
Yeah.
Because so you say that systems such as the I Ching
Yeah.
contain the highest energy stored in books or other objects. And that's kind of what I feel you're philosophizing around in the book is there's the objects, there's the matter, and then there's the consciousness streaming through it. Or how would you say?
Yeah, well, it's so a dollar bill, the paper is not worth a lot of things. It's the belief on the dollar bill that is actually making the dollar bill worth something. So it's not the matter behind the dollar bill, it's the beliefs and like agreements around the dollar bill or about the dollar bill that actually is worth something. And
You call it the non-physical part of the object.
yeah, exactly. Well, when we say that something is beautiful, what are you looking at? Is it the craftsmanship, or is it something you can't really touch? it's like when you say that person is very beautiful. Well, they can look any certain way, but you could be talking about how they express themselves, how they treat other people. Well, that is not the physical part of the person. That's the non-physical part of the person, and and vice versa. Where you have someone who's very physical attractive but acts in a horrible way, you might say, well, that person is very ugly. So what are you describing when we say, what are you describing when you say, when you walk into nature and it says, oh, it's beautiful? Is it the trees, the grass, the birds? No, you're looking at a whole energy system and you see it moves in a harmonious way, and that makes you feel harmonious. So it's that you're looking at. And I think everything is like, it's just energy, and matter is also just energy. So we have this weird thing that we focus on this like frozen matter that we can touch, and that's very important to us. It's super important to us that we can touch it, but it's the thing inside that we can't touch that actually gives us energy or gives the object importance, and not the physical object like I Ching or the tarot. It's like the information and knowledge in those systems is not in the cards. It's in you, and then you draw your cards, or you throw your coins, and it comes out. It's just a translator from you, your connection to the universe, and this just translates your question or questions that you're connected to.
Yeah. And so what you say is that then problems arise when we confuse what's actually the enriching object than just, yeah, the enriching, I guess, part of the object. But there's also, when we talk about matter and the question about the law of attraction, you write about that as well. That comes
Yeah,
up, right? It's like, I want to look into this about matter because I want to feel better. I want to have help.
yeah.
So can you talk to that? Like, how do I exist in this dimension and just, I mean, yeah, you talk about manipulating matter.
Yeah,
How,
yeah.
how can things flow more easy in this physical dimension is what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, I'm struggling a little bit with that as well. I'm getting better at it, but I think for me, and at least for me, it is like, so what do I really want? So a lot of people go, well, I want money, I want this and da da da. I want cars, big houses, or a nice job, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever it is. And let's manifest that. But is it what you really want? Because now you're just pointing your fingers at, well, matter. And a lot of spiritual teachers say, well, you shouldn't, it's Maya and all of this, like matter is just something almost bad in many cases. But a lot of other spiritual teachers, the masters of old, or whatever you want to call them, they go like, well, no, it's just, it is what it is. And but to go back to your question, you have to be very clear on what you want. And what I mean by that is that if you're not aware, um, you're trying to you're trying to force your consciousness to do something that your mind wants to do.
Yeah.
So my mind goes, oh, I want more money so that I can go on holidays and eat well and everything. And my consciousness goes, no, you want more freedom.
Mm.
Now, this is different. This is different. Freedom is something, and more money is something else.
You have this quote around this: you cannot manifest anything that your consciousness does not find useful for your journey. And I can really relate to that from evolutionary astrology, where we're talking about the soul across
Yeah.
lifetimes, and then there's specific desires in there. And yeah, I get it. It's like where the soul is not aligned, the other way around, where my egoic, you can call it that, or little
Yeah.
mind is not aligned to that higher soul vision, then that's where the struggle begins.
Yeah, exactly. You're fighting the current of life. You're going, no, I'm supposed to go that way. It's like, no, you're not. You're supposed to go here. And that I have somewhere in the book, I compare like Nazi Germany with Buddhism.
Yeah.
You know, one is trying to control the universe. The other one is trying to make you be in harmony with the universe. It's like, which one do you think is spending more energy on for their outcome? It's like, if you're, and I think maybe people who, there's a lot of rich people who go, you know, I always wanted to be a poet, or I think I heard like George Soros or something, like I always wanted to be a philosopher or a poet, but I went into money because it was easy. So if you think about that, it's like, so what did you need to do to suppress your, let's say, way, your desire to do something completely different? Well, you need to close off your heart, your consciousness. And so, yes, you can, but I don't recommend it. And
So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of, when we look at society, there's a lot of like, get an education, take a job, work, get kids, a house, a car, go into pension, and then die. And then you go like, so wait, my ancestors survived at least until one of my other ancestors was born, all the way up to me. I mean, I can't remember how many generations it is, but from the tadpole that swam up or started crawling on land, they survived all of that to, for me to just get a job, no, get an education, get a job, work, pension, then die. It's like, is that the purpose of life? It becomes weird when you look at it. Like, it can't be this, because this seems completely devoid of life. So, but if you close yourself off enough, yes, you could probably manifest a lot of things you really shouldn't be manifesting.
This is really good stuff. I personally relate a lot to that. I, you know, uh, in evolutionary astrology, there could be explanations around that in terms of the level of the stage you're at evolutionarily.
Yeah,
Like there's different levels to consciousness in that system. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but that's just what I think of when I hear that, because absolutely I could not do what my parents did. I could not, and I have the same frustration looking back at my lineage. I'm like, why was no one asking big questions? I was like just accepting this stuff, and no one cared. It's as far as I know, no one cared about anything else than just pure survival. Just like, but then that's also honoring. I feel that maybe that was the necessity, and so they couldn't look up. They couldn't because they needed to survive, and so the
Yeah.
daily matters was essential because they couldn't just read a book. They needed to cook.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it makes sense as well that there might have been that in the past for then the next generations to be able to live for something more soul enriching, if you will. I don't know, how does that sound to you? It's just an idea.
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean, we have the human civilization as it is. And there's been, most of life has been just a long struggle to survive. But then you have the Indian culture where they go like, well, we produce so many different philosophers and masters of thinking. And you go, well, how did they do that? How did a whole society pivot? Yes, there was survival mode in India as well, 100%. But how did a large population pivot so it became a part of their culture to go inside and celebrate those people who did go inside and look at the mysteries of the universe and go like, yeah, we need to support those people. Those people are important for our culture. Sorry. It's like, how did they agree on that? Because we haven't really agreed on that. I think we did, maybe, because we had the shamans. We always had the shamans who were the ones who went beyond of, well, normal daily life to see and look and guide people. So they were all, and we supported them. They didn't have to hunt or go to war because they were more important. They were more important than the daily struggles.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's really good perspective to bring that in. So when you're saying they were more important, and when was this? Is this, what age are we talking about? Just
I think we had shamans forever,
okay. Yeah.
pretty much some kind of spiritual teacher that guided us, maybe helped us find like animals to hunt or if bad omens or whatever, but they guided us in matters of dreams and fortune telling, and it seems like we always had that, or maybe it, like, maybe everyone was like that, and then slowly as society progresses, we can't have everyone being like this. Someone can focus on it, and then we got the whole priest class. There's an interesting story about how priest class came about,
Yeah.
and that's well, all these nomads that are walking in circles, like following the prey animals that the animals that they want to hunt, and getting out of the winter or whatever, just walking after animals, the food. They stopped at certain places and probably met other tribes, and this become cult places, and some people stayed behind for different reasons. They stayed behind, and when all the groups a year later come together, they could tell the new people like, no, you should do it like this, and they started to keep the area clean for the next celebration of the next year. And and they like, so they got all the knowledge from year after year after year, and then suddenly we have a priest class just because they stay behind and collect knowledge and store knowledge from every meeting of this. You know, last year they did it like this, and this happened, and blah blah blah, and so all of a sudden we have many hundreds, probably thousands of years later, we have a priest class that now is the most knowledge person in the grouping, and that ties into the Stone Ape theory. So
Ape. Yeah.
Stone Ape Theory. So that's Terence and Dennis McKenna had this. Yeah, they had this theory that because the human brain has been growing almost exponentially if we compare it from apes, and nobody did explain how that was possible. It's too fast. Um, so if you look at dolphins that have been around for a very long time, or alligators who's been around for millions of years, their brains haven't really changed. So they said like, so okay, so how does this monkey go growing their brain? And they thought that if they following, when he said like when Africa got drier, these apes were following lions to eat a little bit of meat after the kills.
Yeah.
And they followed them the herds of buffalo. And under the buffalo paddies of cow shit, there grows mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And when you eat magic mushrooms, your small doses, your vision gets better. You start to see better. And what also happens is that your neurons in your brain actually, you get more connections. So your brain gets more and more complicated because of it. That's why they say if you do like mushrooms, you get more creative, you get more open, because there's actually a physical change in your brain that opens up more neurons that you can utilize. So it doesn't really alter your personality, but a little bit. And it gets,
Like
yeah.
through the years, this happened from the apes to the human brain.
Yeah, so they kept eating the mushrooms and their brain grew, and probably when they were reproducing, that next generation of apes had a little bit bigger brain. Then they keep eating the mushrooms and so forth and so on. And
Wow. Okay. So is this a theory that want to say something about that we should work with mushrooms today, or is it just a theory about how it happened?
yeah, well, it's just they were Dennis and Terence McKenna, especially Terence McKenna is like a mushroom god.
Wow.
So when it comes to magic mushrooms, he and Paul Stamets are the source material, but um, it's a theory. It's never been proven, but there was something funny in South Africa. They found like scratchings in a cave that must have been done long time ago, and it had those patterns that you can see when you're on mushrooms. So they said like, oh, are they eating mushrooms? Like, because they're doing this pattern. And yeah, so I don't know, it's just a nice theory, and it's maybe plausible. I don't know, it's just a theory, so we can't say it's true or not. So
I have to ask you now, you bring
yeah.
this up, did you use any psychedelic uh, thing like can
Yeah, mushrooms.
you used mushrooms to when
Yeah.
you were like writing this book?
Oh no no. Let's see. Yeah, well, I didn't use it while writing, but I used it before I started write.
Okay, so what do
Uh,
you feel it was sort of channeling, a channeling that you wrote?
yeah, I mean, okay, I've read a lot, but the connections that I make in the book, they're not really because that I read a lot. It's not like, oh yeah, I read this in that book and this in this book, and then I just connected them. It's like, oh wait, where did that come from? It's like, and then I have to, if I read, let's say, a sentence or a chapter, I have to like really go through it and go like, okay, so does this fit logical? Is this actually, is this fitting somewhere, or did my mind just made this up? You know, and I turn it, and because I do have the science thinking, you have to try it out. You have to like negate it, like no, it doesn't work, and let's throw it away and say it can't work, and then you like no, it actually does fit. Can I generalize it, or is it just a specific instance it works or something like that? And then you go like, oh wow, this, I think this works, and okay, it can stay.
So you went through that whole scientific falsifying, validating
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
had written.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I did throw away a lot because I sometimes I kind of like, oh no, I need to write 10 pages, and then I try to force it, and it doesn't work. It like, no, this is crap. This is no good. I no, this is like 5 of those pages is just waste of time. It's like, no, I'm trying to force things here, or so I have gone back to, it's like, for me it's an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe maximum 2 hours more than right. I can't do more per day. It's like it doesn't. It's hard enough,
Yeah.
and then but then it flows. It just broop, it just comes, and
But like
um
the information channels needs to be open in order
yeah,
for it to flow. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Dennis, I had a question
yeah.
from something you said just a little earlier, where you were. I have this question around non-moral beliefs becoming norms in society, and that might be what you were talking about before. I'm not sure. Yeah, can you just explain what you mean by that?
Well, we have these what we think is right, and they're very immoral or unmoral. Like, well, soldiers die at war, right? We expect soldiers to die at war. We might not wish them to die if it's our side, but they die at war. But if you're a soldier and you're in exercise, and another soldier accidentally shoots you, now that person can get charged, or it's negligence. And I go like, well, doesn't training to go to war, isn't that also a way? It's like we have these weird things when we say, well, this behavior, and it can be totally unacceptable in any other setting, is okay here. It's okay to shoot people, burn them, or whatever here, but here you can't do it. It's like, then why do we allow it here? Why it's okay to treat other human being in any way, shape, or form that is horrible over here, but not over here? And then you have to kind of get that back into society, and okay, so am I doing something useful? Well, most people would say probably not. You've written a weird book. We don't understand it. It doesn't do anything for society. You're not making any money, so you're not paying any taxes. So you're practically useless. It's like, okay, so was that the same thinking about Buddha or Jesus? Or it's like, no, you just talk. That's all you do. You don't do anything. You're talking to people. It's like, well, yeah, and they're not becoming good citizens. They're like rebelling and saying that we should be better people. It's like, what are you doing? They need to pay taxes and go to work, and you're not useful. So we have this weird thing where we allow horrible thoughts about other people, and it's okay because, yeah, it's part of society. If you're not useful, you should, become useful or die. It's like, no, we can't use you. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a weird. Well, anyone can become useless, right? You lose an arm or a leg, and then, well, now you're useless.
This is it saddens my heart as you speak, and it's something that I'm very aware of because I almost feel it in my nervous system as something that continues to make me unsafe, make me feel unsafe, or I let it
Yeah.
feel unsafe if I should own up to it. But the conditions of the world is I don't know if I can speak about what's subjective, but now it like you agree to it. I feel like it's kind of unsafe for me as a human being because anything can happen, and yeah, we can. There's a lot of money in insurance, right? Because we're all afraid to be just crippled and lose everything, and no one's gonna
Yeah.
just gonna be alive but dead. And yet a lot of things can happen where no one can actually save you, like no one can. You could be just you can fall in between boxes no matter how much you insure yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I continue to feel unsafe on that level, and that's again to do with matter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think is that we we don't trust the universe because the universe looks untrustworthy. It looks like, well, stuff just happens to people, and no matter what they are trying to do, they end up in a bad way. So we don't trust the universe, but we don't really trust ourselves as well. It's like, am I capable? Well, some people seem to trust themselves, like Trump or yeah, I'm gonna win, not a problem, and then they just move ahead, they steam ahead. But we get a little bit, especially if you don't have enough money to kind of insure yourself. Like, yeah, I bought a house in New Zealand, so if nuclear war happens in Europe, I can always go to New Zealand, and there's a plane ready for me, so I can leave. It's like, then we feel more safe. But even those guys, there's a super funny podcast, and he talks about meeting these tech bros from Silicon Valley, and he thought he was supposed to talk about like bitcoins and money, but they only wanted to know New Zealand or Alaska. Where do I live? Where do I put my bunker when the shit hits the fan? And he's like, what? It's like, so even those people who are super rich and super well connected are afraid. And we are in some transition.
Yes.
And well, if we look at history, that's always been bloody because you have we built these systems, these power structures, and now they're starting to shake. And people get scared because they're like, well, I'm top of the system or I'm in the middle of the system. I don't want this to go away. so I'm going to invest even more time into this. It's like, if you look at like Nazi Germany, at the end of the war, they got even more into like, let's kill all the Jews, and they got harder in their thinking instead of going, well, maybe this was wrong. They put even more effort into it, and more people sacrificed their lives for it, because when you start to invest in these systems, you don't want to see them to crumble. And but change is inevitable. It will come for you. It always comes for you. So instead of like fighting it, let's go like, hey, okay, so what does this mean for us? How do we change with this, whatever it is that is coming in? How do we flow with it? Like, don't fight the current. Just relax and go like, okay, might be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but let's go on it together. And we will figure it out as we go. And then, because we always do, that's what human does. We adapt, we figure it out. But if we started fighting it, then it's not good.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, you don't fight puberty. Well, you know, it's like, no, well, maybe we do a little bit because it's awkward and it's weird and what the hell's going on, but we don't really fight it because we want to be grown-ups as well. And this is like part of the human consciousness to like, yeah, we need to get to the next level. Like, we're getting into puberty, and it's like, yeah, there's going to be pimples and weird voices and hair in places you didn't have hair on. And
Okay, I appreciate the analogy, uh, and yet I also think you've seen people grow up when you're small. You've seen people grow up. Here we're at a threshold. We don't know, like, things can happen that we haven't seen before. I don't know,
yeah,
maybe if you're a history guy, then you can you can go back and something similar would have happened. But then, as far as I understand, like, there's planetary movements that hasn't happened before, like just
yeah.
the climate, at the milieu.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Most of you have the great year, that cycle of procession that or I can't remember how many thousands of years, but doesn't it come around? Like, or is it like, even if it's a cycle, it's so long that we as a people haven't seen it, or is it a first in the universe? What's
Me, I can't answer that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
okay, okay.
I think that's too astronomical, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure about that. I was just thinking about, okay, I'm also influenced by, I've just watched this TV series in Danish by a famous director, Thomas Vinterberg, who
okay,
the plot is that Denmark is, well, it's gonna be flooded. Like,
okay.
the country is gonna get flooded, and so everyone just needs to leave, just go different places in the world. But then you can't come in because everyone has restrictions around who can cross the border, and so there's all of these situations, right, where uh, people are separated from who they love just because of pure survival, and so it's and I mean, I know that that's just an idea, that's fiction, but
Yeah,
I actually watch fiction quite closely around this. Like, okay, there's something here telling us that things are gonna shift in a radical way, and we have to live very differently. But I do really appreciate what you're coming with, and I want to receive it, because what I'm representing right now is kind of the ordinary mind who goes into fear, and what you're talking about, you call it timeless awareness, and this, what do you call it, like the non-coercive living non-coercively, just being in the flow. And I definitely think that's the remedy for just being so fearful and locked.
Yeah, I have, well, as all people, I had a lot of instances in my life when I'm just reacting to events. I get scared. It's like, oh, I'm going to lose everything, or I'm going to lose my job, or whatever it is, and you just react. And in the long run, nothing good, almost nothing good came out of it. There was a lot of struggle and so forth and so on. And if I just slowed down a little bit, I could see a better way. I'll get to where I'm going. Yes, there's a detour, but it was a lot of fear, stress, and struggle. And now I'm just trying to go like, okay, this happened. Okay, that's not optimal. Let's see, how does this play out? How can I, like, where do I put my energy here? And then you just wait a little bit, and then it's like, oh, there's a door over there. Let's take that one. It's open. It's not blocked. There's not a lot of people trying to push through or something. It's like, oh, okay, I can go that way. And then suddenly things just works in a smoother way. It's not, the anxious levels drops because you see, instead of, because I think we're so used to like fighting the current, so it's always like paddle, 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 paddle harder. I have to get to that shore, and it's like, maybe not. Maybe just, chill out a little bit and see, like, if I float with this current, where do I end up? It's like, oh, that's a much better place. That's a must. Oh, I really want to go there. Oh, it's taking me there. Nice. It's like I didn't expect any.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And I think even when we are talking about these greater environmental forces and the crisis,
Yeah.
this becomes so relevant. So
Yeah.
relevant what you're talking about, because you say the tyranny of the mind, right? And the
Yeah.
tyranny of time.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
we have a problem with time because it's very linear for us. So it goes from point A to point B, always. But and in the physical world, yes, that's probably the best way to describe it. That it goes from point A to point B. But what is it actually? What is time actually describing? Well, time describes change. It goes, well, either the second hand is moving, something is moving, so it describes movement and going from point A to point B, or an atom does a turn or whatever. It describes movement. So all this movement involves just energy. But if everything is just energy, then it's like, okay, so what's time now? In a system that everything is energy and it's moving, but you can't see the change. Is there time? If you can't observe any, like, if you look at one atom and it moved a meter, but and our next atom moves into that place, and you can't see, oh, was that the first one or the second one? You don't know what you're looking at. It looks like it's completely still, but it's moving. Then there's nothing to describe the change. if you can't see the change. And if you can't see the change, there's no time. It's like time says something changed. You know, the sun moved a bit. Time. But if the sun always was in the same place and the bird never moved, then you couldn't describe it. You don't know what you're looking at. And our brains are not very good at time. It's not very good at time. I mean, when you're bored and you're just waiting for something to happen, it takes forever. And when you have fun, and it goes so fast, it's like, okay. Wait, I think your sound disappeared.
Oh, I
Oh,
think
no. Yeah.
that the internet is a bit on and off. Hopefully it gets into the recording. It reminds me of an interview I did a while back on this podcast with an astrologer who was talking about as we grow older,
Yeah.
like, as I understood it, per definition, as we grow older, time seems to move, time accelerates more rapidly, it moves, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you were 10, you couldn't, it's like, and it was, let's say, May, and you wanted it to be Christmas again. Oh my God, it took forever. I mean, it never came. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to be dead by the time it gets to Christmas. Now, it's like, my oldest child is 15, and I go, where did time go? It just, and she's 15. What the hell's going on? It's like, I remember you in diapers, and when we went to the hospital, it was like, what? It goes so fast.
And so why is it you say that our brains don't really work well in time, with time?
Yeah. Yeah, why is that? Um, I'm not really sure. I mean, I had some weird, well, they were on mushrooms, or allegedly, because mushrooms is illegal in Sweden. So
Oh,
allegedly, I had some accidentally. I don't know what happened, but then I couldn't tell if it was if it been 5 seconds, 5 hours, 5 years. I didn't know if it's been 5,000 years. I didn't know.
okay.
I'm like, wow, maybe I mean, or that I went back in time. So my brain was struggling, but that's also like when you dream
Yeah,
and you go like, oh, my dream was so long, and I only been asleep for 2 minutes.
yeah, I've tried that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so the mind is not very good at time because it doesn't really like, oh no, something physical needs to move, but you're not moving in your mind. Yeah, it's like, yeah, linear time is for the mind. Like, yeah, an hour went by, 2 hours, but when you maybe get closer to the consciousness, time is this, it's like, no, there's no time because consciousness doesn't experience time. It's always been there, it's always part of everything. It can reach back. I mean, as you say of the development astrology,
Yeah, evolutionary astrology. Yeah.
evolutionary astrology, yeah, that's like, well, there must be something that anchors you back to that. Either because otherwise it's not an evolution, right? It's just bodies, 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 bodies. But there's something that anchors you way back there, and that is timeless. That has no time. But the mind has a time. The mind, as they say sometimes, like, well, the Europeans have the clock and Africans have time because they don't follow watches. It's like, so it's kind of like that. It's like the consciousness has, well, all the time, and the mind has, yeah, the clock.
A system.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it reminds me of why I really love trauma healing
yeah,
and how we can send back, for example, transgenerational trauma, or really any trauma. You can like send it back to the sea of consciousness, like you
yeah, yeah.
take that in.
Yeah, that is so interesting because there's been a lot of trauma in my family. It's like Jesus Christ. There's like, but I guess that applies to most people.
I mean, in the work that I do, that's what I see is why we are still here.
Yeah.
Because if it was all cleared and it's all good, why would you then be here? What lessons would you have? It's because of all of that junk, to put it lightly, that you're
Mm.
here to do something else, to realize something else. And yeah,
Yeah, I think that. What do you think the like human? What's the purpose of humanity? Where are we going with this? Is like, why are we here? What are we doing? Where are we going with this? It's there's there was this MTV produced a movie. I always forget names. But it was super philosophical. It was like a lot of spiritual teachers and philosophers who talked in this movie, and it was weird. They had shot the movie, but they also did like a cartoon.
okay.
I can't remember exactly what it's called now, but it was really really good. And in there, there's a philosopher who says like, well, God is always inviting you to be with it, and you always keep on saying no because you're not ready yet. You're not ready. So he goes like, oh, come here. It's like, no, 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 wait, I'm having a little bit fun over here. I'll be there in a second. And we keep on doing that. So, and I think humanity has a purpose. We might not make it. That could happen as well. But we have a purpose and we're supposed to do something. And it might take thousands of years, millions of years before we figure it out. But whatever it is, it seems to be important for the universe
Yeah.
that we at least try. And every person is a part of it. No one is just, well, I think I used the word NPC in my book. No one is a non-playing character. You can act as one. You can embody one, where you just go to work, have a career and children and a house and pension, and then you die. You can act like that, 100%. But that's not your job. That's not what you're supposed to act like. So then you might have to come back and do it again. so, so yeah, but
Yeah.
we have a very important journey ahead of us,
Yeah.
and we should honor that. And every one of us. I mean, why is it that all culture has that to kill someone, another human being, is a bad thing? We have that in, even if it's revenge, you still, a lot of people, I mean, soldiers, everyone, that's like, well, I remember it wasn't a very good feeling. So, like, why do we have that?
Yeah, so even though there's a lot of facts and what is right, what is wrong, it's all changing now that there's, well, for many Western countries, there's not this church who's in power anymore. Then
Yeah,
still we have something that's spiritually aligned, the spiritual values and morals that it's just goes against humanity to
yeah,
cross those. Um, and I'm sitting with both. You were asking me a big question there. I'm glad that you just okay, great.
Yeah,
Saved by the bell, like you were just continuing to it. Great. Because
yeah,
that's a big question. So I'm sitting with that. And I'm also sitting with just that how much I love speaking to another soul who's asking these questions. And because I remember this is, yeah, it's a little a fun ride back to earlier in my life. I got married early. I was in a religion.
yeah,
Just before that, I remember speaking to the minister about how meaningless everything else is, because I was like, now I can see my whole life. Like, I'm just going to get married. There's just going to be kids. I'm going to have that job. And then I'm going to die. And what? Like, I remember sitting with that frustration.
yeah,
And, and well, then I chose marriage and kids. And then I had a huge crisis
yeah,
and well, left religion,
yeah.
big one, and realized a lot of trauma just came up in trying to live with another person,
Mm.
and and that's where it really began for me, because even though I was like asking the question, feeling the frustration, I didn't find that there was anything I could do about it.
Yeah,
And so it's not an easy journey, but it's also for me it has never felt like a choice. Some people will say, oh, you're brave that you did this and that. For me it wasn't a choice, like trauma just breaking everything up. Like I got triggered, like things was here that I was just suppressing and I didn't see it.
yeah,
So to the question of what's the purpose of all of this, I feel I'm very like subjective and just feeling, for me that's definitely, and for each I think it is dealing with those traumas and
yeah.
becoming a whole in yourself. And definitely for me, I'm gonna need a few more lifetimes.
Maybe not. Don't. Maybe not. Well, I'm coming closer to a point where I found out this about myself, that I go to a point where it's like, no, enough. Either I die here or something has to change. This, but even in our struggles and the misery, we still have too much fun to to go that last mile or meter to actually change into something, because that's something else, especially people who are seeking, that something else, the mind goes, what the hell is that? Like, you are going to be what, a monk on a mountaintop that no one, and that speaks in riddles and no one understand, or whatever it could be. uh, because when you, sorry if I'm too loud, but when you start seeking or healing yourself, you start to look around and you go, there's no one else here. It's just me, and that's painful many times. It's very painful. And I'm super, super happy that you actually reached out to me, because I'm like, what? Someone read my book? It's like, what? Okay, that's kind of cool. It's like, and they want to speak with me? It's like, that's why I thought it was a scam in the beginning. It's
Yeah,
like, no, this,
you had to track down, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Like I had to.
Yeah, I've been asking. How did you how did you find the book? You have to answer this, because all my friends is like, yeah, how did she find you? It's like, yeah, I don't know. Don't ask
I
again.
I think from looking at the publisher's website, I think that's it.
Oh,
And
okay.
constantly looking for books that inspire me. And so I think it was actually from that website that I saw that. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Okay. So that nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, we're alone in this journey. But the thing is, you're supposed to be because it's your journey.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to, but it's very uncomfortable because we're not used to be alone.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's
this is directly into what I'm feeling as well. I do
mm,
talk a bit about being lonely, but not in that separate kind of way. It's just, yeah, there is no one who has that exact same journey. And like I'm combining therapy and astrology, and I've tried to reach out to many people who's doing sort of the same thing, but it's not exactly the same thing.
no, no,
Found
no.
anyone who can see those connections that I feel.
Yeah,
And that's for one, and just for another, it's just not very common with astrology. If we were like talking in bigger terms, it's just that's an underground thing in and of itself.
mm,
So I definitely feel that like I need to walk alone many times,
yeah,
and having that spiritual perspective on it is a great aid to me. It helps me a lot to see
yeah,
that's this is how it's supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be like it is on a TV show where there's always like three girlfriends and they
yeah.
think about my life. That's not the reality here.
No,
Something that I need to, and I need to like commune. How do you say? I need to evolve just with spirit as well.
yeah, and that's yeah, you know the Freemasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I and I'm not sure.
So the
I'm not.
sect-
Sorry.
Isn't that like pretty sectarian?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what I understood of the Freemason is that like they have a system, or they believe they have a system that would produce, let's say, spiritual enlightened people.
Yeah.
And I go, well, it really doesn't seem to work because there should be a lot of spiritual enlightened people. Well, it all depends what we call a spiritual enlightened person. And there's many such systems where, you know, you have a guru that tells you to do this and this and this and this. And it's like, well, they don't seem to produce new Buddhas. Why is that? Or a new Jesus, or and why is that? And that I think it's because you're trying to, you know, give a recipe for people to follow so you could reach that mountaintop. It's like, yeah, that's the road. Walk up the hill and then you turn left and then you reach the top. But I don't think it works like that. It's like what you said about the connections you see, that is like that's your part. That's your path. That's how you interpret. That's how you, yeah, interpret the universe.
Yeah.
And you get it. Well, a lot of people don't, but that doesn't mean that I'm on my path, that I can listen to you and I'm like, okay, yeah, I hear something in it. I don't really get it because I'm not looking at the same thing, but I can hear something in you that's like, we're on the same path. We're on the same path. But it's like, but it's not my path. But we're walking like next to each other and we can wave, and sometimes we meet and we can shake hands, have a coffee and talk, and then we go on separate ways again because we are on different paths, and everyone is. There's like every road leads to the mountaintop, but there's no roads because you're building the road as you walk, and behind you the road disappears. No one can walk in your footstep. That's why in the beginning of the book I say I can't teach you anything. It's your path. Find your gurus, find your teachers. And I reference some people, but it's like I don't want to put in quotations a lot. I don't think have a lot of that. It's like, no, no, no. Find your path. I'm not trying to leave breadcrumbs of like how I did it. It's like, this is my path. You can't follow me because there's no road behind me. you like listen to what I have to say, find your way, and then walk that way. You know, don't trying to follow me.
I love that. That's the new one. Don't try to follow me in in a time where it's all about how many followers you have. Don't follow me. Good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
No, I
I'm
love it.
a,
I love it.
yeah. I'm always sorry. I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying it deeply resonates, even though I was making that joke, it deeply resonates what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean I'm interested in people because we teach each other even though we don't know that we're doing it, and it's always inspiring to listen to someone who is walking their path, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know, because they have this glow about them, and I love your back the paintings. Very nice.
Good.
Um,
Part of the
so
inspiration for our conversation here. And
yeah,
Dennis, it has to end somewhere.
yeah,
So we're just in the last minutes here, and I
yeah.
feel it's really encouraging what you're saying just now. I also feel like getting the sentence in from your book.
Okay.
There is nothing the universe will not create for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's nothing it won't create for you. Oh, I mean, unless it breaks the universe, but but you have to be in sync with the universe.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, $1 million and here it is. No, no. You have to be in sync. And probably more importantly, you have to be in sync with yourself. It's like, that's the way. It's like you have to be in sync with yourself and then you will sync with the universe. But the problem is when you get there, there's nothing that you do want. So it becomes this mute point where, I mean, Buddha or, well, let's stay with Buddha. He could probably have asked for anything, but why would he? It's like it's like I have everything. It's like when you get closer to that point, you kind of start to look around. It's like, but I have everything. I have everything that I want. And this journey is like, it is what it is. And then you don't ask for anything.
But like, didn't he leave his children and then maybe they grew up with a lot of trauma, not having had a father? I just have to say, like, it's not that
Yeah.
easy. It's not that easy in human practical life to just say, oh, I have everything, when actually I don't. I don't have for rent next month.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's the like that's the because that is a trauma.
Yeah.
That is, am I useful? Why am I not useful? Why doesn't anyone see me as useful? So am I just doing make believe? Like, am I playing at something that everybody else says, like, that's child play, stop that, become an adult. And that's a trauma because but this is the only thing I can do. This is what my whole being is screaming for me to do. But you tell me it's useless, then you start scrambling and panicking and try to do some work that pays your rent and food, and that is, you're corrupting yourself. It's like, yeah, it's not very good, but that's that might fuel you to actually either uh, get off your path or go for the path even stronger. And I think that the world that we are in, it wants you to go on the path, but it's like, are you serious with this? Are you truly serious with this? Because otherwise you can go here, and it would always, throw breadcrumbs on the side of the path. Like, hey, want to go over there? and to see if you really mean business. Like, and you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. Am I going to live like a person that acknowledge my own worth? That no, this is where my heart belongs to. I used to equate it with like, would you marry someone you don't love, and why? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you marry someone you didn't love? If you knew you didn't love them,
Yeah.
like 100%, you knew no, you don't love this person. So why would you do that?
That's the kind of in the ordinary fearful mind, I would do that.
Yeah, yeah. But because then you start to, put the plus and the minuses, and maybe I can have an affair once a year or something like that, and but all the money or the fame or whatever. But 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 if you go like, no, I would feel horrible. I would be sad every day, and I have to pretend like it's like, but
Yeah.
it's the same with your path. It's like, why are you doing something you don't love?
Yeah.
Well, I have to pay my rent. Okay.
Yeah. So it comes from that place in you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
limited in perspective, as I hear you.
yeah,
Just a comment on before my final question.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
a comment to your birth chart, to your
yeah,
astrology.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it said you are born on an eclipse. So
Uh-huh.
that gives a really it gives a strong personality. It gives a strong
Mm,
personality that you can really make an impact. But listen to me, it can also bring that pressure to make an impact. And
mm,
our humanness can feel like that's a lot, right? It's so we see some people who's like completely out there when they are eclipse babies, we call them, as like then massive success, royals, um, and then some people who are born on eclipses don't have that, but they experience that same, I have a purpose. And then it's just it's such a pressure that it can kind of hold a human back. It can hold a person back because it is so important what I'm doing. And like you were saying before, like that kind of I'm not ready. That
mm.
it's definitely a part of it with the South Node in Cancer. It's definitely a part of I'm not ready yet. So but the same huge potential is there, and I think that's where it resembles in your chart, that this great thing that you are
Yeah,
exploring the whole universe
yeah, yeah,
and the purpose and my purpose and how do we do all of this. And you are a Leo sun, so there's so much creativity and fun and joy that needs to be expressed and have
yeah,
an outlet. So exactly what we're talking about here with, I could convert it to follow your passion, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's the Leo sun really wanting to shine and probably have in the past not been able to do that. And then clearing the trauma, clearing those restrictions and doing just it's actually very in what we're just talking about here,
mm.
living what you feel is what you want to give and not just what other people want to receive. It's not about what other people want to receive. It's about what do I really want to give, and then finding that crowd who can hear that message.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I have, as I said, my books. I'm going somewhere with them,
Yeah.
and it's part of my journey. And
Yeah.
I don't think I knew it when I started. It's like I knew I had to write 3 books. I didn't know why, but now I understand it, and I'm going somewhere with it, and I know that if I get there, then it might be cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and I think I'm getting ready to go there. So
Wonderful.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, you've also had important matters to with children and family, and so there's a time for everything, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not doing the Buddha thing. It's like, yeah, bye, see you. It's like,
Exactly.
have a nice life. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. It's like, yeah. And I'm
That's
getting ready to, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's just it's in that axis of Cancer Capricorn. It makes a family really important,
Yeah,
and not just wanting to be responsible. There's that in it too with the moon in Capricorn, but also like this is my contribution. Like kids is an important contribution.
yeah.
Right? So it's not like I have to do this and then I can. It's like this is truly important for my path.
Yes.
Right. So that's why I see in your chart.
Yeah.
I wanna ask you, it's just this fun question I
Uh,
can't help myself to ask in the end. It's just like the book is called Where?
yeah.
So did you find out?
Okay. So the book series is Where, What, Why.
Oh, great. Great. Okay.
So it's like matter, like where are we? And then it's like what are we? And then why are we? So I'm following that trail of like, okay, so we're in matter. Oh yeah, that's
Okay,
well,
we did better. That's
yeah. So it's like yeah, so that's what they call them.
I thought maybe your next book was gonna be called Here Is It.
No. It's going
It is.
to
It is not.
yeah. It's
Great.
going to be what?
I hope that you'll have time to come on when your next book is ready.
Yeah. I love this talk. I mean, I'm really happy that you really. So yeah, I love to come back on, 100%.
Wonderful. And we'll figure out what.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Dennis Cobélean. And have a wonderful day. You're up in the northern Sweden.
yeah.
Did you say it was close to the pole?
Yeah, it's just like oh yeah, well, a couple of kilometers. It takes me 20 minutes to get to the pole circle.
The pole circle.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's cold and snowy.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah. So
Enjoy.
it's
Enjoy.
yeah. Thank you very much. It's Mannah, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Thank
say
you very much.
thank you.
Sorry?
You can say it however you want to say it.
Yeah, no, but so it's like manna from heaven.
I
Yeah,
think that must be it.
yeah, but it's like yeah. So you're food for everyone. Well, I hope it didn't sound weird, but
No, that's
you're nourishing everyone.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
spiritual nourishing. Yeah, that's cool.
it's
Maybe-
quite accurate to what I feel. So
Yeah. I really think you are. I started to listening to your podcast, so and I'm awestruck. I'm very impressed. Yeah, you're very good at this, and you have interesting. I haven't listened that much yet because I haven't listened long.
many interesting people on there for sure.
Yeah, but you pull them all together. You're the spider in the web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you are in it, and you're in it.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you very much. Have a nice day.